welcome to those that are joining our fireside chat. It's the second time we've had a chance for Nick and I to get together around the warm fire. And it's actually amazing. Actually, it really does make you think there's a warm fire next to you, especially if you've got it on a large screen. So, hi, my name's Julian Murfitt, Jules, for those that know me well. And I'm really pleased to be joined by Nick Specht from Raymond. Hi, Ray. Hi, Nick.
Hello, everyone.
And we'll do a quick intro. I think last time we were together, I did inviting you to the stage type invite, but as we are both on video, I think it's easier for us to maybe talk through. But for those that are not familiar with myself, I've been working with Adobe, actually partnering with Adobe and supporting them on projects for nearly, over 3 decades, scarily. And in the early days, that was with FrameMaker. We were a FrameMaker partner, a reseller. And now moving right through to the maturing of AEM Guides, which has clearly been a massive change and an altogether different experience working with Adobe. Now, actually, my role is managing director of the UK office for Contium, and I'm responsible for international operations. So let me hand it over to you, Nick.
Okay. So, hi, everyone. I'm Nick Specht. I'm the Senior Manager of Technical Publications and the Digital Print Center for the Raymond Corporation. I've got 2 world-class teams that create really nice content, technical content to support Raymond's end customers and the entire enterprise, as you'll see in the future slides as we go in here. But I'm responsible for our current operations and also the future roadmap and vision for our technical documentation.
Great. Thanks, Nick. So I guess we should, particularly for those outside of the US, let's tell them a little bit about Raymond, because it's a name that I've become quite familiar with, of course, over the last couple of years. But and for many may think of them just as forklift trucks, but I think there's a lot more to it than that. That's right. Absolutely.
So, the Raymond Corporation first is a member of the Toyota Industries family of companies, and we're a global provider of really the best forklifts and best material handling products and solutions out there. And like you said, we're not as well sold outside of the United States. I think the way the markets are divided up, but within the US, we're definitely a market leader, and Toyota is a market leader across the world. But intralogistics solutions is probably a term that people aren't familiar with, and that can lead us into our video.
Yeah, let's have a look at that, actually. Yeah, so we'll play the video and see if that makes sense to people.
Raymond isn't just one thing. It isn't just forklifts, or technology, or automation. It's all of that and more. Thanks to an array of intralogistic solutions tailored to help your business reach new heights of productivity, efficiency, employee engagement, and more. With so many options available to improve operations, you may not know where to start. That's where Raymond's 3-step approach comes in, where we take a deep dive into understanding your business and its needs. We call this process Optimize, Connect, Automate. Optimize is a crucial first step before investing in the latest material handling products and technologies. Raymond applies the principles of lean management to help you achieve optimization. This is a long-term discipline that helps eliminate inefficiencies and identify challenges. Running your business better also means finding ways to connect your entire operation with technology. Smart technologies, like telematics, help gather and analyze data by providing actionable insights, delivering measurable business results. The third step is identifying activities that make sense to automate using the most advanced technology solutions. Automation will enhance processes, reduce labor costs, and maximize resources. Raymond and its network of solutions and support centers offer a wide range of automated solutions, from conveyors and carousels, automated storage and retrieval systems to automated guided vehicles and robotics. Our history of innovation means we're always working to bring you the most advanced and customized solutions to help you achieve your business goals. So we can help re-engineer your existing facility or help you build the facility of the future. Your future. At Raymond, our solutions truly are end to endless.
Well, there we go. I think it's fair to say that, and there's quite a lot of technical equipment, not just hardware, but software as well. And I must admit, I've often said, and many of our clients, the whatever you make, whatever you produce, your second business is publishing, because you've got to document how to fix, maintain, support this equipment. And your stack is actually growing quite heavily, isn't it?
Absolutely. So, we called this, the good old days, and it probably not too long ago, 10, 15 years ago, we pretty much had an owner manual, an operator manual, parts manual, service or maintenance manual, and an installation guide for each forklift or lift truck. And our content was fairly, at least it started out fairly consistent. We were working in a folder structure, so we all know what happens in a folder structure. You start off with maybe 2 manuals, and the content is consistent, and then one of those manuals goes to review, and a topic gets changed from a subject matter expert's request, and now you've got 2 topics instead of 1, and then then they get translated, and they multiply, and so on. So beyond just we had that issue going on, but also we went from just forklifts to the end-to-endless solutions that you just saw in that video, where we added all types of technology products, telematics, automation, just everything in that video. And we had to create the documentation to support it. So it just really expanded, and kind of the good old days are gone where you could manage that in a folder structure successfully. And, that's where we found ourselves, and really in need of a content management system.
Right. And then this was back kind of 2018 when you first started to think about this, as I understand. In fact, when we first met in San Francisco. Okay?
Yes. Yeah. We were, definitely on the market for a new content management system, and we were looking for something that integrated with FrameMaker, because that was what our writers were used to, and we were trying to eliminate the culture shock of a switch to a totally different system and way of authoring. Yeah.
Try and minimize the change management for sure. Yeah. And actually, I know that we talked before that there were a number of kind of key things that came up. Things like single sourcing was something that we're exploring. Consistency, so improving the consistency of the output, which has got to be a challenge for most people, and style and content. I think anything like that helps with customer user experience and improving that. And then actually translation costs. I think they were the key ones, weren't they? But I think you've also mentioned a desire to improve delivery and cadence. Is that something that was on the hot list?
Yes. So, all of those factors, we wanted content reuse, because we have, so much similar content through our owners and operator manuals, and then even within our service manuals. We needed translation management capabilities to manage it better, make it faster, and to reduce costs.
The cadence I remember you mentioned about, but I guess that's more about having the latest information to hand. But I think HTML and things like that, is that really more a usability type thing?
Yes, yeah. So we wanted to get into the usability and improve the cadence for our end users, specifically on our service manual side, where so we can get updates out to our service technicians in the field in real time, or closer to real time than we currently are. And we also wanted to add more animations and video and things like that to our content, and have a way to deliver that, where the end users can search it, find what they need, get to the information they need, versus getting to the entire PDF and and then having to flip through it to get to what the content they need.
So this, I think this is the expansion of the content. Maybe you can talk us through a little bit on the slide. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of different document types there. You've got some online help there by the looks of things, and other types of output. So is that the full set? Would you say?
It's pretty close to the full set. So yeah, you can see our owner operator documentation expanded as far as translations, but also via brand. So we're supporting Raymond branded products, Toyota branded products, some other products like Lift Right, and so everything basically just went, times 2 or 3, and then times multiple languages as far as our outputs. And we've got multiple other technology support, documentation for automation, for telematics products, for virtual reality training and real-time location sensing, and LiDAR systems and things like that were something that was not on a forklift 10 years ago. It's all brand new.
Very different.
Online help to support our telematics system and some of our technicians' software that they need to use. So just a lot of different pieces that needed to be accounted for as we transitioned our documentation into guides.
I mean, even installation is, you think of a vehicle, if it's just a truck, you just turns up on a pallet, but actually it's a bit more than that, isn't it? Because you've got a large piece of equipment that's laying down when it arrives. You've got so safety factors are pretty important, has to be said.
Yeah, so it is quite a different thing. Most of them are ship laying down. The big tall ones that are shown on the screen here, ship laying down, and they've got to be stood up by our dealerships and our solutions and support centers, and then when they're delivered to the customer. And so there's a big need for standardization, as that's done all over the country and throughout North America, and we provide that in our installation guides.
Right. So I think kind of moving to the project. So you made a decision to go with AEM Guides, I should say, and fortunately for us, you also made a decision to go with us, which I guess wasn't a straightforward thing. You had to evaluate a number of people. So, and I know you've said kind words about it before, but I better get it on tape. But your selection, you have said selecting a partner was an important part of that, without leading you too much here.
Yeah, I think it was, one of the most important factors and the reason why we had success with this project. There were multiple choices out there, and I would just say, each company's got to find a support partner that they're comfortable with, that, is based on the pace that they need to move and the complexity of what we're trying to do. And, how much guidance we need. We definitely had some questions that were, you guys, led us in the right direction, early on, and, advised us as far as, which moves would be beneficial and what the pitfalls might be of other moves that we were considering. So, it's been a hugely successful partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. And I must admit, we, and I say we with the collective group, the team that have been involved, have actually really enjoyed working with you. And while I'd like to say that about all customers, the reality is you have good relationships. It is a bit like a marriage. And if it works and gels, then you get so much more, value out of the effort. So I must admit that's worked well. Actually, that leads quite nicely into how did we phase this? Because, of course, it wasn't a big bang approach, was it? And we had to think about how to break it down. I think this is part of kind of the answers to the exam question of, what people will take away from this. Planning the project's pretty important. And so we've showing the 3 phases and the where we are. So phase 1, maybe just talk us through these 2 phases and why there was a difference.
Okay. Yeah. So we're looking at the change management aspect of the overall project, and we didn't want to bite off more than we could chew. and looking at our resources that we had that we're going to need to work on converting our documents into AEM Guides. We thought we would get the most bang for our buck, I guess, out of our, as far as reuse goes, out of our owner and operator documentation, and also cost reduction if we included, the translation management, because that's where most of our translation spend is on our owner and operator documentation right now. So we were looking at content reuse and translation savings and efficiencies in our phase one, and thought that would give us a good solid foundation, to build from. And then phase two was going to be, we're just wrapping up phase two, I guess, is our service manuals, installation manuals, and our online help. And that pretty much wraps in a lot of those different documents that were shown on the expanded content slide. They're all going to fit into one of these publishing templates at the end of the day. And there might be more that we need, something else we find we have to add on, and we'll talk about that when that time comes, I guess. But that got us through our first two phases, and we've got some pretty good results so far, I guess that can be a tease for future slide as well.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and this is over about 24 months, isn't it? Something like that. It's been more than 18 months now that we've been working on it. We're now just pretty well at the end of phase two.
Yeah. So we're right at the end of phase two. We're starting to load our maintenance manuals, installation guides, and online help, and bring other users on board as well. So most of our phase one was handled by one of our, we were fortunate enough to have a resident DITA expert on staff, and she really worked well with your team to get some maximum output out of the documentation. But we really need to involve the rest of our staff more as we move, into the incorporation of phase two and into phase three.
Yeah. So actually, it's probably worth explaining a little bit about that in terms of the phase one we see here. For us, of course, a big part of our job was to, coach, support, and guide you. And as you say, you had a good number of people on your team, and I'm going to ask you to give a shout out for them in a second, because I think they deserve it. But those guys we work with, as I say, hand in hand. And the first phase for us was really looking at the architecture. And I talked a little bit with Mike, who's one of the key architects on the Mekon side, Mike Nguyen, who helped to craft, if you like, the data structure. And I said, what would you do differently? And he said, well, in a perfect world, he would have had more knowledge and vision of what the end goal was with the online and HTML. But he said, unfortunately, it's a utopia that you can't really have. You have to go through that phase of converting to the existing state, and then as people get more knowledge of us with your content and you with what's the art of the possible, you then start to look at what you might add in way of metadata and crafting the information for future desires. So that was kind of one hurdle you have to go through. So that process was pretty important to us. The conversion was the other piece that we spent quite a lot of time, and it was probably actually not the most challenging. Mike says the most challenging was producing the output. So the three parts for us was information architecture, followed by the conversion methodology and tools for doing the conversion, and then thirdly, producing the style sheets to produce the output that was right. So they're nice little containers. But that conversion, we were really pleased with. I mean, it went really well. We did a lot of reuse analysis from the notes, that's warnings and cautions, and that allowed us to create conrefs if we had perfect matches, and then give you guys the opportunity to swap out if a caution or warning was similar and it just happened to get crafted in a different way, it could get picked up and then replaced. So the reuse started to happen from there. Do you remember the kind of that process? Because I know that you had to do quite a lot of handwork, and that meant that you didn't do things too fast. You took your time because of resourcing. But yeah, maybe a shout out for the team. You should, let us know who were the key people on it.
Absolutely. Deb Toby on our Tech Club staff was our manager of the project, and she really, handled all the logistics back and forth. Donna Kyle, our senior technical writer, is a tech writing veteran and expert in DITA. She really worked hand in hand with Mike and the team to work on the conversion script and the publishing templates and get them to really the point where the first manuals that came out of the system it was transparent to our end users that, they didn't come out of a FrameMaker template, from a folder structure, that they came out of AEM Guides. I manage our digital print center as well, who gets the final files, and it was transparent to them and transparent to our end user. If anything, the content was better. It was more consistent, and we did take the opportunity to make some small improvements to our content so that it would work better in the system. Also, on the research side, Meryl Hennigan took our owner and operator content, and this was kind of like a manual process where she took every single topic for every manual and documented, for this warning that, each manual says this, and this at a giant table, and really analyzed our content to see how consistent it was. And if it wasn't consistent, why not? Did it just change over time for no reason, and we just didn't go back and update the other stuff, or does that one need to be different for a special reason? So we did all that analysis, and then Donna was able to use that as she was loading the manuals through the conversion script, and kind of use that as a template to say, all right, I've got these topics, and these are the ones that should be used across the board, and in this manual, this topic has to be different, and use that as kind of a blueprint to go forward. And as we move into this second phase, Nancy DeHaas on the online help side really, has been driving that part of it with working with Mike as well.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely been an iterative process, and I know we've done some refinement on the conversion tool, which initially was primarily unstructured FrameMaker. Phase 2, we actually had some structured content, and interestingly, that proved to be slightly more challenging with the structure, because it was the structure allows you to, let's say, not always follow a set of schema rules. So we actually had slightly more inconsistency, ironically, with the structured content, but they've got through that, and I think we could have probably done slightly more outsourcing services for you, but actually it worked very well because your guys knew it. But that did mean you needed the luxury of time, didn't you? You weren't under really strict time penalties to get this done and transferred, which is quite often the case with clients where they're maybe shifting from one system to another and they've got to close it down for financial reasons. You didn't really have that pressure, which was really good, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a luxury to not have to have everything in and loaded by X date. We were able to move at a comfortable pace and shift resources around as needed. Still doing our day job, our day jobs, while we're working on converting and getting this content loaded. But if anything, I'm the one who's pushing and saying we need to move faster on this because we want to get the benefits, start seeing more of the benefits out of the system, and get that ROI, which we are seeing already. But we're definitely going to need our service documentation probably loaded faster than we did our owner and operator content as we move forward,
right,
so that we can take advantage of our, use it in phase 3 and for other neat projects that are coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, right. So we'll come on to a bit of that. I think maybe let's see if I can have a look at, we've got another little slide here with some of the results. And in particular, I think we looked at the translation and the single sourcing. Let's have a little deep dive into the single sourcing, in fact. And this, so I checked earlier, so we've got 3 columns here. I see 5 columns, but the green is Raymond. So that was the Raymond brand. The white was Toyota brand, and I think yellow was Systems. So that would have been generic Systems. Is that right? Mm-hmm. I think this is just showing each of the topics that were coming up in the reuse. Yep. So I don't know if you can talk a bit to it, but 78%, that was the, I think we had 90% saving on the owner's manual, and about averaging of 75% on the operator manual. That's pretty significant, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's going to just streamline our operation going forward, as you know, and help us just get documentation out for new products, new models that much faster. You know, if we see that similar reuse rollover, and then you know, we, in addition to topics, we also had reuse on our images and on our maps, which is part of the mastermind, our masterminds of Donna and Mike coming together to make that happen, which is great.
Right. Yeah, no, that's very good. I think, and it shows now, you can see the images and even maps. So there was definitely a lot. And certainly in the reuse of things like cautions and warnings, I mean, it makes sense to do that, not only from a translation point of view, but importantly from a consistency, where you can have improved consistency of when you're reading a caution, it is actually consistent with other cases that, and it's inevitable. You do have variations creep in, don't you? And that's what we were able to track when we were doing the conversion routine. So that's very good. The translation though is that's 50%. Actually, I remember in the early days when we were first doing kind of different data projects, we used to say, you could perhaps get up to 30% saving. And often we used to have to play it down because people wouldn't believe us. You'd say, well, that sounds like too high a benefit. So if we tell them that, A, it sets their expectation too high, B, we don't believe you. And I think certainly from a business case management point of view, it is important to set objectives. I mean, set expectations. But actually 50%, that's not just translation, because in fact you're probably making additional savings in terms of the translation memory now with some of the reuse you're doing. But as I understand, this was primarily just on the formatting, right? The DTP.
Pretty much, yeah. It just shaved that, half of our costs right off the top, and so we're not paying for the desktop publishing charges anymore, and it's a quicker turnaround. They don't have to translate as much, and smaller packages for updates and so on.
Right, so you're saving time and saving money, quicker time to market, and that feeds into some of the things that you want to do in the future, right? Which is, improving the cadence of getting content out to people. So that seems to fit or feed into it, I should say. Yeah. Okay. One of the other things that I recall showing, it's probably not the easiest slide for people to see, but this is the web editor that's supplied as part of AEM Guides. And this was a bonus, I'm going to say, right, for you guys. You were obviously very familiar with FrameMaker. Your team knew Frame. We helped to implement a WYSIWYG kind of implementation of that. So what they were seeing in Frame was the same as what they would see in the output. And that was really about change management, trying to decrease the kind of learning curve. And yet, actually, now your guys are using the web editor, and I hear some good results from that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We were pretty skeptical about who would use the web editor in the beginning. Mm-hmm. We thought that the veteran FrameMaker users were going to just use FrameMaker within the system.
Yeah, and
we've got users with decades of FrameMaker experience saying, well, there's really no reason to use it. The web editor has everything I need, and it works fine. You know, we did think that the web editor would have some benefit in the beginning of allowing us to cast a wider net for recruiting. We didn't have to look for someone with years of FrameMaker experience to bring onto the team. But it also, and it would shorten the time to proficiency for new hires. They don't have to go through all that FrameMaker training. But and that's certainly the case. We've added a few new writers, and as we bring them into the system, I think it's going to be a little bit easier onboarding. But yeah, definitely surprising that our existing FrameMaker users are happy and really like the web editor.
Yeah, amazing. That's very good. So we'll relax back next to our fire and just reflect and see what we've forgotten. But one question, I guess, if you can think of it, what do you think the hardest thing was in the project?
Well, I think probably just wanting to move faster on the conversion side. From my perspective, I always want things to go pretty rapidly, but we definitely knew that we didn't want to do a big bang, load everything in and clean it up later approach. And I had to, keep reminding myself to be patient and let it progress and, look at the real resources across not just this project, but across our entire workload and understand that was, we were moving pretty much as fast as we could. And remember that there was no one chasing after me to get it done by a certain date. So I had to manage that pressure in my head and with the team. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I know for us, the output, it wasn't, let's say, the hardest, but it's always a big challenge to make sure we get the output right, and it can often eat more time than you hoped. So I know that was, quite a challenge for us. But otherwise, I think it was actually a real sweet project. And as you mentioned, the team, Deborah's attention to detail really helped to keep things, tight. And Donna's knowledge, I mean, she may be on the authoring team, but, she was really quite technical and worked really well with Mike on our side. So, thank you for that. Yeah. What do you think the future looks like now? We've got to that sort of second phase, thinking about online help, or I should say online delivery, is the kind of next bit. Is that the sort of thing that you're hoping, an increased cadence? We'll talk a bit more about that future.
Yeah, so we definitely need that online delivery, and that's where we're at right now in the beginning planning phases of that. We've got a lot of interest in AI as does the rest of the world.
Yes.
But specifically related to helping our users search and get to our content, faster and more efficiently. So that's something that could light a fire, no pun intended there, under our maintenance manual conversions to get them loaded faster, so that they might play a role in a future AI, a very near future AI project.
That's a good one to talk about, and I'm sure there will be a number of sessions at this conference talking about AI. And I've just come back from the Contium user conference, and we had some speakers from the likes of people like Boeing, and it's actually quite interesting to see how this market is evolving. Earlier in the year, all I heard about was how do we use AI to improve our writing, or we're scared of it replacing our writing, that type of conversation. And yes, it's sure to form part of our supportive area. But actually, we've been looking at manufacturing processes and using AI to track movement and using things like Google Glass to monitor what we're doing, and then be able to use that to go back, particularly in something very safety critical like aircraft, where you're threading wires through an airframe. So I think AI is a big topic for a conversation for sure, but I don't think we are, it's clear what, where it's going to bring the value. So I think it's really good that you're doing this exploration for sure. Yeah. Well, any other final thoughts? Because I'm sure we're out of time, and that as we're by the fire, I think that's eggnog or that's gin and tonic. I was thinking is calling. Any other final thoughts, Nick?
No, I think I would echo your sentiment on AI. That I'm fairly confident Adobe's going to work in some authoring assist into the system that's going to help us out as well. We'll see. And you're right. Everyone's legal departments are trying to figure this all out and what we can do and what we can't do and what we can show to the world. But we've got to be ready for it. And I think this platform will definitely allow us to do that. One other, I guess, side note about the project and how it went. We were on time. We were on budget. There were no issues from that standpoint. And credit to Deb for, like you said, her staying on top of the details, but also your team, being transparent and working with us and keeping that, it was a tightly run ship, and I think the results show that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's having a good team and planning properly is really important. I think the one of the things that I hope to get out of this chat was about the planning, and I don't think we did anything particularly different or special. Just think it's important that you do set the planning out carefully at the beginning. We know what the key pieces of the jigsaw are going to be. And then really just making sure we do it iteratively and don't put a gun against our heads in terms of timing. We've just gone live actually on another project with AEM Guides, and the switch over from the old system to the new had to be done effectively in 5 working days with a weekend for kind of backup. And I'm pleased to say it worked, but that took an awful lot of military position. That was certainly not quite so critical with you guys because of where you were coming from and to. But I think it's good to see that we were able to do that with AEM. And in fact, in their case, it was AEM Cloud, and that's proved to be really, really successful. So yeah, onwards and upwards, I think, with this platform for sure. Okay. Well, Nick, it's been wonderful to have you by my Jules fireside chat, and I hope we can get together again and maybe in upstate New York next time. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.